Hello and welcome to Chaos to Clarity, the podcast that's your compass to navigate the exciting world of service-based businesses. If you're a determined woman in your current business adventure, striving to conquer the chaos and build your empire, then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Maggie, your go-to business bestie and chaos navigator. I've spent nearly 2 decades in the service-based industry, building a photography business, a yoga studio, and now a thriving coaching practice. I've cracked the code to consistent income without all the chaos and noise. So get ready to increase your business growth, connect with your ideal clients, and find ease in both business and in life. It's time to turn your frustrations into inspiration and your chaos into clarity. So go ahead and grab your coffee, a pen and paper, and let's dive into the journey of building your dream service-based business together. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to season 2 of the Chaos to Clarity podcast. My name is Maggie. I am your lead gen specialist, your business mentor, your Chaos to Clarity business mentor, and your human design expert. I am so excited to be back for episode 2 of season 2. So last week we talked all about your human design. And we talked about your business and your human design. So today we're going to get into the art of authentic lead generation for your service-based business, right? We're talking coaches, course creators, thought leaders, thought partners, speakers, authors, all of that. So in the first episode of the season, I talked all about how I utilized human design over a break and just how I was able to really maximize what I was doing and not feel the overwhelm, not feel like, oh my gosh, I have no clue what to do. And I mean, let me tell you, like, there are still days and times where I'm like, my to-do list is 17 miles long, and every time I cross one thing off, another 12 things gets added. How am I ever going to get anything done? I don't know if you're like me, but if you feel like that, I just want you to know you're not alone. But here's the thing. What if I told you that you can generate leads without feeling like, I guess, sleazy or inauthentic, or like you're using all these bro marketing tactics that you're seeing all kinds of people use, and you're like, that is not how I like to buy. That's not how I want to sell. So, first of all, as I'm starting this off today, I want to encourage you to pause this episode, grab a piece of paper, or maybe when this episode is done, definitely take some time to journal your thoughts, or even, like I always say, you just slide right into my DMs and let me know all the things, right? Let me know how this is landing. But I would love for you to think about your buying methods. How do you buy? How do you like to be sold to? Now, when we think about this in relation to lead generation, it's really important. And honestly, it was something that for me really shifted how I looked at lead generation, how I looked at sales, how I looked at the selling process, how I looked at content creation. It really shone a light for me on what I was doing, how I was doing it, and it also allowed me to really recognize when I was getting into some of that weirdness, right? As even before it felt weird, because oftentimes we'll do things and it feels weird the first couple times we do it, and we're like, yeah, okay, well, okay, I'm just gonna keep going, but it still feels a little weird. And it allowed me to kind of escape some of that. So think about how you like to buy, how you like to sell. Like, in a perfect world, if you could walk up to somebody and you just knew that they were interested in that thing and you were talking about your business, like, how would you sell to them? How would you tell them about your business? What would you do? And that's going to give you a lot of insights, okay? So just a reminder, when you're selling, when you're generating leads in your business, right? We want to make people feel some sort of way. Most of our offers are dealing with health, wealth, and relationships, whether that's to the self, to someone else. Like that's what the end goal probably is of whatever you're selling. It's got to make health, wealth, relationships. You're wanting to make it better. So when we think about lead generation, now lead generation might be something that feels a little bit new to you. Maybe it feels like I have no clue what you're talking about when you're talking about lead gen. Like, what does that mean? That word feels like jargon to me. Like, please explain it more, right? Please explain it more. Um, and we'll just put the notifications on silence. So, when you're thinking about lead gen, right, you're thinking about things that are building relationships with people who might want to buy. We're creating consistent streams of new opportunities to come in. We're attracting ideal clients. These are all things, right? And there's tons of different ways to talk about lead generation. So, when we're thinking about bringing someone into our world, first, and I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, where I was talking about for every one high ticket sale, you're probably having 10 sales calls. For every 10 sales calls, you're probably having 100 DMs or interactions on a piece of content, right? Like comments on your content that are like, yes, I want this thing. And for each of those 100 comments or DMs or directed kind of messages, you're probably needing 1,000 interactions as a bigger picture. So if you're thinking about this and you're like, ha ha ha, you're funny, 1,000 interactions. What? I'm posting once a week. LOL. LOL. I'm not getting 1,000 interactions. That's like 250 interactions if I post 4 times a month. I'm not getting that. Here's the thing. When you think about lead generation, consistency is your best friend. Now, I want to say consistency does not equal hustle. Hustle does not equal consistency. But at the end of the day, when you are showing up regularly, whether that's email, social media, networking, wherever you're showing up, right? When you show up consistently, people start to remember your message. They start to see you, they start to put you as an expert, they start to see you as a leader. So, in the beginning, when you have a lot of time on your hands, right? When you're not serving a full load of clients, you have more time to post more. You have more time to connect more. And not to say that when you get further into business, you have less time. You tend to have more systems in place, is what happens in the next phase. So if you're in the phase where you're like, I just want my first client, or I just want one client per month, right? You probably have a little bit more time on your hands that you can spend doing lead generation. Now, I will also say, this is something that I've not seen a ton of people talking about online, anywhere online. When we talk about the 4 hour work week, or we talk about the 4 hour work day, or like time freedom, blah, 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 nobody really realizes like when you sign one client, for every one client hour, in the beginning, you probably have 3 to 5 behind the scenes hours of work to do. That includes emails, that includes DMs, that includes creating the content, that includes creating, right? Not just creating the copy, but creating the Instagram posts or the pretty things, being present, right? Going to the networking meetings. You probably have like 3 to 5 hours of quote unquote overhead time. This is why, and this is something I'll get into later in either this season or next season when we talk about like how to price, right? The coaching industry is the wild west of pricing. I see people out here saying $35 for an hour of coaching. And then you have other people saying $100,000 for an hour of my time, right? So it's so big. But to bring this back to lead generation, right? Let's bring it back to what we're talking about. When we're thinking, okay, I want 1 to 3 new clients per month, I have a $2,000 product, a high ticket product, right? $2,000 to $5,000. Mostly I use those numbers because they're easy to work with, right? Easy math. And if you're struggling with pricing, I want you to send me a DM because I have a system that can help you with this. I use this with my clients who are in the mastermind. I use it with my one-on-one clients. For people who are like, I just need help with this pricing, I don't understand it, I have a resource for you. So, when we're wanting to sell 1 to 3 high ticket items per month, right? So if it's $2,000, that's a $6,000 month. If it's $5,000, it's up to 15K per month, right? So that's what we're doing. So we're going to say 2 sales for the sake of this example. We want 2 sales. That means if we are closing at a 10% rate, which means for every 10 calls, one of those people books, we need 20 calls. Okay. Now there's 4 weeks in a month. So if you divide 20 by 4, that means we need 5 calls per week, which is 1 call per day. So if you back that up again, right? So we're booking 20 calls, 5 calls per week, which means we need to make at least 100 offers to get on a call. Now, if you're like, this is terrible and it sounds like bro marketing, I want you to time out because this is over a month. Okay. Now, if we're thinking about this through the lens of having conversations, right? We're starting the month and I want you to think about starting 3 new conversations every single day, whether that's with the people who you're already connected with online, a simple DM to say, hey, we haven't connected in a while. How are you doing? What are you working on? Tell me what's new in your world. A simple DM like that starts the conversation so that then you can know, like, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. I help with this, or, oh, maybe I could go live. Maybe we have a similar audience and we could collaborate. I could go live and I could offer a free call to anyone who's listening to this, to anyone who's excited or curious about what I'm offering, right? So the opportunities for lead generation are literally everywhere. They are they are everywhere. And that is a hill I will die on. That is definitely something that for me, I see leads and potential to have the conversation about what I'm doing because I'm so in love with what I'm doing. And this is something that a year or so ago, like a year and a half ago, I was not in love with what I was doing in my coaching business. So I was like, I don't feel inspired to talk about it. It's just kind of meh, it's just kind of there. Once I realized conversations were my jam, like after the universe was like, dude, you can't stop talking about human design in conversations. Then it became very easy for me to talk about this. Kind of like when I started my photography business and I would literally stand in the grocery store line. This was in 2007, back before self-checkout was a thing. Like there was no such thing as self-checkout. So I'd be standing in the grocery store line, waiting to get checked out. And you stand there, it's awkward. You're looking at the magazines, you're thinking about buying some gum. Instead of that, one day I thought to myself, what if I talk to the person behind me who's standing behind me? And I tell them about my photography business. And I share with them that I have openings. What if I did that? I did that. It was terrifying because like if you really know me, you know that I'm kind of an introvert, which may not come across in here, but in a situation where I don't necessarily know everyone in the room. And now granted, like for all of you listening, no, we may not know each other, but right now as I'm recording this, I'm talking to myself and the cat who's laying under my feet. So, like I don't necessarily have that jittery feeling. But I've also come far enough in my business where this feels very comfortable and natural to me. So if we backtrack to 2007, it was not comfortable for me to talk to the people in the grocery store line. And one day I just said, you know what? If you really want to get out of corporate, you've got to figure out a way to talk to people about your business. It was that come to Jesus moment where I was like, I got to do this. I have to do this. I have to. If I want to know what's on the other side, if I ever want to even try to get out of this corporate job, I have to try. So I did. And it was terrifying the first time. I was like, hey, hi, how are you? And the person behind me was like, hey, and like picked up a magazine and started reading. And I was like, ugh. But the next week I went back and I tried it again and it worked. And the person behind me was like, oh, yeah, hey, how are you? Like, doing good. Like we had a little conversation. And then I happened to ask, I was like, oh, so what are you doing this weekend? They told me. And then they reciprocated that question and they said, what are you doing this weekend? And I said, oh, I'm taking pictures tomorrow, even though I wasn't, but I had to figure out how to get that in there some way, right? Like, so I was like, oh, well, tomorrow I'm going to take some pictures. We're going to go out to one of the state forests, and we were going to do that. We were going on a hike. So I was like, I'm going to bring my camera, just take some pictures. I started this photography business. It's really exciting. I really love doing it. And the person behind me said, do you do you have business cards? My family needs some family photos. Would do you take family photos? I said, "Oh yeah, absolutely. Let me grab you a card." So I did. I gave it to them, and they were one of my first customers. And that was so cool. So the next week I did it again and again and again. And here's the thing with that lead, that I was generating leads that way, right? So if you bring this to the online space, your content acts as that first conversation, that first time you're turning around to say, hey, hi, hello, how are you? That's what your content is doing. You're breaking the ice. So you're going from cold, ice cold leads where everyone is on the internet. Now you're coming into cool leads where you're going into groups. You're posting on Instagram. You're posting your thing on TikTok saying, hi, hello, my name is blah, blah, blah. And this is what I do. You're telling people what you're doing. Sharing your story. This is so important for you because in a sea of millions of coaches, millions of service-based entrepreneurs, your story needs to stick out. And I'm not saying you have to go to the nth degree and share every minuscule thing in your life, but for me, right, when I share that story about the photography, about growing that business, that is something people can relate to. So that's what you're wanting with lead gen, with your content. Your content is that icebreaker. So when you're thinking about those 1,000 interactions that you need, right? If you're only posting once a week or 4 times a month, that's a lot for those 4 posts. That's a lot of work for those 4 posts to be doing. But maybe you're posting 3 times a week. So 4 times a month now becomes 12 posts. So if you just divide 1,000 by 12, well, that comes out to like 80, 75 to 80 people to interact with that post, either to see it, to like it, to comment on it. And now if you take those 12 posts, those we'll say 100 interactions per each post, and you post that same thing in 2 or 3 places, so maybe on your profile, maybe on your personal profile, maybe on your business profile, and maybe in 2 or 3 Facebook groups, right? So that's 5 different places. Now 100 interactions over 5 places becomes 20, right? So we're looking for 20 people to see your post. Maybe they like it, maybe they comment on it. It starts to become easier. So when you're thinking about, oh my God, 1,000 people, oh my God, right? But now we're spreading it out, right? So we're posting 12 times a month in 3 to 5 places, and your words matter here, right? So you're posting, you going out there and posting is not going to equal a sales call because here's the thing with the algorithm. If you're wondering how the algorithm works, the more you play, the more it pays. So if you post, right, we're just going to use Facebook groups for the example here. So if you post in 3 to 5 places on Facebook and then you leave and you don't look at it, you come back the next day and you're like, Nobody commented. Nobody's seeing my stuff. You need to also comment on some other people's things. Like it, give it a heart. But I would actually even encourage you to like stop and read some of the things that people are posting about. Stop and read that because that's your chance to also generate a conversation. That's your chance to open the door or to turn around in the grocery store line and say, "Hi, how are you?" Or, "Hey, I agree with this. Oh my gosh, I'm experiencing the same thing in my business," right? Or, "Oh, I can help you with this thing." Okay, so doing some of this, right? And I only spend about 10 to 20 minutes per day on Facebook doing this, right? I've got a training for it in my Facebook group that I'll link below because this is important when most people are like, oh my gosh, I can't sit on Facebook and Instagram all day generating leads. This is insane. I don't have this kind of time. I promise you, you've got 20 minutes a day. Because if you're spending just 20 minutes, 20 intentional minutes, now that could be even 10 minutes a day, right? You could break it down so that you're spending 2 to 5 minutes in the morning, 2 to 5 minutes at lunch, and maybe 3 to 7 minutes in the evening, right? That's 20 minutes a day. You're going to post, you're also going to comment, and then maybe you're going to start a conversation. That's what you're on there to do. So if you feel like you get lost in the scroll, know where you're posting. This is why it's important to have a tracker because you're going to know what you're posting, you're going to know where you're posting, and you're going to know who you're talking to. So, these are all things that I help my clients do, especially in the mastermind. We have accountability. In the mastermind, it's set up so that you have accountability daily if you need it, because there's a chat, there's a place for you to ask the questions. You can even have people help you start to get that algorithm revved up, right? If you know where your clients are, and if you're doing the generation, or if you're doing the like looking in the groups, you're understanding who is in those groups. That is how you are going to generate leads on autopilot because you're going to be like in their brain, and these people are going to be like, how did you know? Are you in my brain right now? This is where like bro marketing tactics, like sending just 100 random cold messages per day, doesn't always work. So, when we're thinking about bringing in human design to this, what matters for this is that you are aligning your energy type, right? So we've got, I'm a manifesting generator. I have a lot of energy. So for me to spend 10 to 20 minutes each time I go on Instagram, not a big deal. But I have to make sure that it's specific when I am going on there. I have a job, like usually one or two things that I'm doing when I open that app on my phone or on my computer screen. I'm either on there to post and comment, or I'm on there to check a notification and send a message. Because otherwise, I tend to get lost in the scroll. So that's what I do. And again, in the training, it's called Crack the Code. It's in my Facebook group. The link is down below. That's going to explain that whole thing. And I don't want to get into it here because that workshop goes into detail and also gives you scripts, DM scripts for your type. So if you're thinking about like, oh my gosh, I don't want to spend 20 and maybe an hour. I don't want to spend an hour on Facebook every single day. That's fine. Understand where your energy lies. Do you want to be on there 3 times a day? I suggest 3 times a day because you can do it morning, noon, night, right? You could also do twice a day. You can do once a day, but I suggest at least twice a day, a morning check-in and an afternoon check-in because I know you have 20 minutes, 10 in the morning, 10 in the evening, because I know you're scrolling. Don't tell me you're not. Don't tell me you're not because like I know. I'm scrolling too. I am not immune to any of this, and I have had to be really, really on the ball, and I'm not a type A person. I'm like type AB, right? Because I'm kind of lazy, kind of need, like, kind of like that to-do list. Like, I'm in the middle of type A and B. So, when you're thinking about all of those traditional lead gen tactics, the cold ads, the cold DMs, where you're just kind of sending something out there and you're posting and praying or posting and ghosting, and then nothing happens. And then you're pissed because either no one's answering you or you feel really down in the dumps. You're like, nobody's reading my stuff. I can't even believe it. Having accountability, someone who's also going to be there going, dude, I'm so excited for you. That is going to help you in those initial steps. So even if you're not in the mastermind, having an accountability partner to like your post, to join your live, right? To watch your live, that kind of thing. And if you need someone to do that for you, like I love being that person, love being the cheerleader, which is why I opened the mastermind. So I can cheer my clients on together. So we have a group of people together to cheer them on. Now, that also might sound like a pod. I know like an accountability pod or like a posting pod. I've seen people call it where you post something and then all the people in your pod like and comment and da 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 da. That's not what this is. This is just genuinely like if you see this post come up, I would love it for you to heart it. I would love it for you to like it. I would love for you to comment on it if it resonates with you. If it doesn't, like leave it alone. You don't have to. Like, I don't expect everyone to resonate with all my stuff or all of your stuff. So, I said leaning into your human design type, right? That energy behind it matters. You need to do an energy check. So, like projectors, if you're feeling real tired, you might only post 2 or 3 times a week. I encourage you to post more than once a week just because most people need to see something like I don't know, like 7 to 21 times. So if you're only posting once, and that's 7 to 21 times before they'll like take an action, as in like a like or a comment. So if that is the case, right, it's going to take 7 weeks for them to just like it. And then it's another 7 or 21 for them to take another action. So the more you post, the more you'll get. But like, hear me out on this. If you're posting twice a week and you're interacting, your posts are going to go somewhere. If you're posting once a week and you're not interacting at all, it's not going to work. You have to play the game. And spending 10 or 20 minutes doing this once or twice a day, I promise it won't drain you. Okay? And if you need to borrow some of my energy, that is what I'm here for. I'm here, like, I have so much energy, as you can tell. And I love talking about this stuff. I also love helping people align their lead gen with their values, right? Their values and their human design. Now, for me, my values, like my core values are like having fun, keeping things simple, right? That's what I love to do on this podcast is give you a simple way to do the thing because when it's simple, it feels easy. And when it feels easy, we're more apt to do it. Think of how easy it is to pick up your phone and open that app, right? Think about that. You want to make it easy for people when they see your stuff to go, oh, I love this. Oh, yes, I want some of this. Make it easy, right? Make it simple, make it easy. So when you bring your values in and then you add your human design, you're adding that energy of you, right? And like projectors, I use you as an example because there's only about 20% of you, even manifestors. There's only combined, there's about 30% right there of you guys. So when you lean into that energy type, and if you're a manifestor, you're informing, you're telling people, hey, I'm working on this thing. Does anyone have questions? Right? Like I'm working on a lead generation mastermind. Does anyone have any questions about lead generation? And then you're asking the question, so then the generators and manigens will respond to you, right? Projectors, if you're out there going, I was just working on this lead generation mastermind, it's coming together. I'm so excited about it. I noticed this happening, and here's how I would solve it. I noticed that people aren't engaging on posts, and that's killing your algorithm, right? So, offering the value. There's so much information, and there's honestly nothing that new under the sun. So, a lot of times in coaching, what we wind up selling is the accountability, the implementation, the action, the hand holding, because it's scary out here, yo. Being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. So, I know I kind of went through a lot today in this. So to kind of wrap this up, right? I would love for you to think about a time where you really felt super aligned in your business. And how can you bring that like feeling of like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. Like an example, if you feel so aligned in your business when you are giving support, when you are listening to someone, right? When you are serving your clients, ask a past client to hop on a call with you and just like do a coaching session, record it, and then ask if you can put that out into the world. Share that value, share it, right? Like that's the thing. You want to share it, whether that's in an email, whether that is a social media post, whether that is a networking meeting, whether you're walking down the street, knocking door to door, which I guess I really don't suggest that, but like talking to your neighbors, right? Wherever that is, make sure you're sharing your value. Tell people about what you're doing. Share that because I promise you, somebody knows somebody who probably needs your services. So we're recapping. Lead generation. What is it? We're bringing people in who want our things. And how many, ultimately, you have to decide how many sales do you want per month. And this definitely gets down the road of like pricing. We're not there yet, but we will get there. So when you're thinking about high ticket sales, that like 2000 and up price point, you're probably wanting at least one, if not two, maybe up to five sales per month. So you have to plan accordingly. If you want one sale, you've got to have 10 sales calls, which means you need 100 DMs. Now, if you get into it, if you have 2 to 3 new conversations per day. That means going on your friends list, looking at, oh, here, I haven't talked to this person in a while. Let's see what they're up to. Or, oh, Sally Mae just added me. I'm going to say, hey, hi, hello. Thank you for the ad. I would love to know more about you, right? That's what I mean by starting a conversation. It doesn't have to go straight to sales, right? So you're having about 100 conversations per month, which is about 3 per day if you're doing this daily. If you're doing this like 5 days a week, it winds up to be like 5 new conversations. But ultimately, you have to decide. You've got to decide how many you want. And you also have to decide like what is the rate I want to be booking at. Like if you want a 50% booking rate, well then you really only need like 2 calls per month, right? You're booking one. And then going back from those 100 conversations, right? Those 1,000 interactions. Where do you want to post? What groups light you up? Where do you get really excited? If you're thinking about Facebook groups, if you think about Instagram, how do you want to connect with people? On Instagram, it's a little bit easier to send a cold DM. It's a little bit easier to go to a networking meeting, meet someone, add them on Instagram, follow them, look at their stuff, say, hey, I love what you're talking about. Do you want to have a conversation? It's a lot easier to do that, right? So you have to decide where your easy is. I love groups. Mostly, I love groups because there's so many. There's so many groups. There's so many amazing opportunities to have conversations in those groups. Like I said, I'm going to drop below the link to my group. And then in my group, in my Facebook group, there is a crack the code workshop. It's all about using Facebook to generate leads. Chef's kiss. It's so good. It's so good. So if this resonated, I would absolutely love for you to send me a message. Slide into my DMs. Tell me all about this. What resonated? What didn't? Right? Like, because I need that feedback too. So tell me how much you love me. What a Leo thing to say. Anyway, I hope you have such an amazing day. I am so excited. Make sure you check out the mastermind if you want my eyes on your stuff. You want group support. You want me in your back pocket. We meet weekly. We meet weekly as a group. You meet with me quarterly one-on-one. You have access to me through messaging one-on-one and in a group. You have a community. There's just so much. There's so much. We're working on your offer, your leads, your sales. We're bringing in elements of your human design and like the things that like where it's not like so off into the weeds, right? We're working with your type. We're working with a lot of the foundational aspects of human design so that you can get to know yourself. So, I hope you'll join me. I'm so excited to have you in my world. As always, thank you so much for listening. I would absolutely love if you sent me a DM. Let me know what resonates. Feel free to tag me on Instagram and just let me know. Let me know all the things. Make sure you like, share, follow, comment, all of it. I hope you have an amazing day.